Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave and today I'm going to be doing some work on my Chinese Mini Excavator. This machine is a UHI branded machine. It's a UHI 12 UME or a 1.2 ton machine, and I've had this machine just on about 2 years now. It's done about just over 100 hours work and I haven't had a problem with it at all, but I have noticed in the last couple of months that I've been having an oil leak start this rear travel motor here on the left hand side of the machine. Hasn't really been an issue, it hasn't stopped me working with the machine at all, but I thought while it was still within the warranty period that I would try and get it fixed. And I rang up UHI and talked to them, and they seemed to know what the problem was, and they sent me free of charge out a new seal kit to fix it. I don't really know what's involved with fixing it. I guess we're just going to have to get it in the workshop and have a look at it. It hasn't really been a bad leak. I have noticed when I park it at times that there's a slight little sort of mark on the concrete. You can see on the tracks here that there's a bit of oil on the track here, and I've also noticed that the oil level in my hydraulic tank here has dropped down a little bit from what it should be. So it has been leaking. It hasn't really been an issue, but I thought would now be a good time to get it fixed. Now you'll notice that the machine is really dusty and covered with stuff at the minute, and normally what I would do is before I start working on a machine I would give it a nice wash down and clean it all to make it all nice and presentable, but I'm just going to leave it like this at the minute, and just so I can see where the oil actually is. I know it's coming from down the bottom here, and you can see on that sprocket drive that there is sort of a film of oil there, and I'm sure it's coming from this travel motor, but I'm not going to wash it at this stage until I get it sort of fixed, and then I'll bring it out and I'll pressure wash it. And I've got a new treatment program, I suppose you'd call it, like a anti-rust, anti-corrosive type treatment I'm going to put on it just to protect it as well. So let's get it in the workshop. Squeaky. Okay, I've used the arm here just to tilt the machine up to get the tracks off the ground. Obviously the tracks will have to come off, and I've never actually taken the tracks off this machine. I've put them on I think twice when they have come off, but I've never had to take them off when they've been on, so that'll be a bit of a new exercise. I've got a couple of stands here. I've got one here that's supporting the front there, and also I've got one that I've put under the back here, a car jack stand under there. And that's on one of the uprights there. There's a bit of extra protection there as well. All right, so I guess the first thing I have to do is just take off this cover plate in here, get to the tensioner, release all the tension off the tracks, and then pull the tracks off. Now in my particular machine, you can see that this track adjuster is a big threaded bolt and a locking nut on there. Some of these diggers in the later versions have come out with a proper grease fitting, so you can pump the track tension up with a grease fitting, but mine's the old format style like this. It works okay, it's just a bit fiddly, and I just need to loosen that off before I can get the tracks off. Okay, well, I've taken the tension or reduced the tension down there, and I've managed to move the idler wheel back a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to. I wanted to try and get it really loose so I could sort of just lift the tracks off, and that'd be pretty sweet. But there still seems to be quite a bit of tension on the track, so I'm going to go back to my older method of when the tracks actually get stuck, is to take this pin out and this nut off, and then just to run the tracks backwards and forwards a few times, and before this whole sprocket has just then inched its way off and has come off. So I'm going to try and do that. And this is the 55mm socket that comes with the toolkit with the Mini Excavator, and I found that usually these nuts aren't on all that tight. They just line them up to the split pin holes, so let's try and get it off. And there we are. So that wasn't too bad at all. Okay, now I'm just going to start the machine and go backwards and forwards on the tracks. It's worked in the past, but I don't know whether it's actually going to work today, so we'll give it a go. Oh yeah, well, that sort of worked, I suppose. Okay, I've got the sprocket drive off now, and I can see that there has been quite a bit of oil leaking out of there. You can see that there's quite a lot of dirt and dust and mud and stuff that has been there as well, and certainly that drive axle has oil on it. So I'm thinking that the seal must be behind here somewhere. And the first course of action would be to take these nuts or bolts out around here, and then I'm hoping I can sort of separate it from the rest of the motor. But I might just now that I can see where the oil is, I might just try and clean this up a bit so I don't have dirt and crap getting into the hydraulic part of the motor when I take this apart. Okay, I've just cleaned that up quite nicely there. I've just used some brake cleaner, and I had my toothbrush in here just trying to make sure I get all the dirt out of this joint here, because I'm pretty sure this plate comes off when you take these bolts out, and that plate just lifts off, and I think that the oil seal is in here behind this plate. I'm not doubly sure. I think it's probably timely actually that I go and have a look at a parts diagram for this particular pump, and just to make sure that I'm actually going in the right way. I've managed to find online this repair information PDF document, and this is for the EATON pumps. In particular, it's for the 6000 series, the Charlie motors for the disc valve type that I have on the mini digger. And when I look at the exploded parts diagram here, I can actually see what we were just looking at on the video. So I can see that this is the retaining plate here, and I notice that on the outside there is a dust seal. On the inside that says that there's a backup ring if supplied, and then a shaft seal here, and I think this is the one that's leaking around there. This big O-ring actually fits on the outside of this retaining plate, which fits into the housing. Now I haven't noticed it leaking there, so I'm not going to replace that particular O-ring. The one I'm going to replace is just this one here on the shaft seal, and probably the dust seal here on the outside. So I can see the area that the sprocket sits on is from here to here, and just past that on the end of this axle there's a little bit of corrosion. I don't know if it's actually rust, but it's just some build-up material. I think I'll just get a little bit of emery cloth on there and just take that off, because I'm not too sure how tight this seal is that goes in and out here, so I don't want it to catch on any of this here. So I'll just I'll just get something and just take that off, I think. It feels better. It seemed to be all that tight. The socket is a 12mm. Okay. Now I'm not too sure when I take this out whether there's going to be a big spurt of oil that comes out of here. I would think not, because the pump's not running. So we'll see, I suppose. So that's the bolts are in there. What are they? It's marked with a 10.9, so I'm guessing it's a high tensile bolt. Just taking these out by hand. I'm not using a rattle gun on these. And I don't know how much oil is going to come out. I've got my oil pan underneath here still, just in case I need to sort of put the cover on quite quickly. Okay, all the bolts are out. Now, how does that come off? Do we give it a little tap tap maybe? Oh yeah, I can see a gap opening up there. However, it's not going to come out because I can see that the keyway's here. So I think before I go too much further, I've got to try and knock that keyway out, get that out of the way. Let's just tap it in for the minute. If there's going to be any, seems to be it. Okay. Oh, there's a little bit of oil coming out. Oh, that's all right. Right, and there's something in there, I think, is what we're looking for. So I'm just looking at the seal that's inside this cover plate, and this is the main seal, obviously here, this black rubber one. It doesn't look to be a very deep seal. If you look at it, it's quite narrow, and if I can find it, I did read a blog from somebody that replaced this, and I'll put the size of the seal on the screen if I can find it again, and because there's lots of room on the inside here that you could put a thicker seal, like a double lip seal in here, which would be more effective. But anyway, so the rubber seal goes on the inside. Then you'll see down underneath that, if you can see it, there's like a brass ring or something here. I'm not too sure what that is. I think it's some sort of spacer in there that is behind that seal. And then there's a silver thing here, and I don't know whether that's actually a spacer or it's actually part of this housing. And it looks like that the dust seal on the outside here, and I'm looking at this, and the actual lip on that is actually on the outside. Now I would have thought that that lip would have been facing inwards, not outwards. The outside of that's brass or something here, and I think this dust seal actually comes out from the outside, and then the main seal comes out obviously from the inside. So I'll just get a pair of multis or something on this seal and pull this one out. And this is the kit that UHI kindly sent me to fix the oil leak. There's no part numbers or anything on this bag, it's just this is how it came. And inside here are 3 components. So there's a brass dust seal, and you can see that it's on one side, it's nice and smooth, and then it's got the lip here. And as it was in my original one, this lip was actually facing the outside, and I thought it actually should be put in that way and facing on the inside, but not too sure. There's this brass spacing ring that goes behind the main seal here, and this is what I was talking about, that the seal itself is very narrow. It's not very deep, and I'm pretty sure that you could probably get a replacement seal that's wider and would obviously maybe give you a better seal protection there rather than this one. It does look like that it's got some coating of something on it already. I did read that quite often with putting these seals in, that you rub a little bit of petroleum jelly or something in there. It all looks like there's already a little bit of a coating in there, so I'll just leave that as it is, I think. Okay, so I've got that old seal out. This is the old seal here, and it was really brittle, so I grabbed the lip of it and it tore the lip straight off. It was quite hard, and yeah. And then it had this brass spacer plate, maybe, I don't know what it's called, underneath there. Then I just punched through from behind here to knock the dust seal out. So that's the dust seal. But now I'm faced with a dilemma of which way do I put the new dust seal in? Do I put it in with the lip facing out as it was, or do I put it with the lip facing in? My gut feeling would be that the lip should be facing in like that, but yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing to think what to do. See, it's not really, it's got a bit of a bend to it. It's not really flat as I thought it should be. And then the new seal. The old one came out very easy. It wasn't very tight in the housing at all, so you just push it down with my fingers actually. You can feel it hitting the bottom there, which is good. Yep, I think that's it. Make sure it's all sitting flat. Yep. It's up a little bit there maybe. Okay. I think that's it. Ended up putting this top seal in the way it came out. I don't know whether that's, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but yeah, anyway, just going around now, just checking that it's all sitting there nice and flat, which it is. It's good. So I'm just going to put the cover back on now. I didn't lose a lot of oil actually out of the motor. I thought it might have come out a lot, but I've probably lost maybe about 50 mils, something like that, which isn't too bad. And what I did do is I got a scouring pad and just took off some of this coarse material just here, just to make it easier to get on for the seal. So I've got my new seals in there now, inner and outer, and I'm just going to put it back on how it was, taking care not to try and grab the seal on anything. Get that lined up. Have to rotate it a little bit. Let's put a bolt in to locate it. And these bolts, as I said, they're a high tensile bolt, I think, but there's no washers or anything under the top of them at all. Right, I've got that in there. I'll just tap that in now. Okay, put our bolts in. Going to snug them up first, and then I'll get the torque wrench. Split pin I have is a little bit too short. This is a 2-inch 50mm one, and it's probably just a little bit small, but I'm hoping it will do the job. It's a good garage working day today. We've got a bit of rain which is now settled in. It's supposed to be raining for about 3 or 4 days, so that's all good. Okay, so that's all ready to go again now. I've just cleaned the film off that travel motor there to make sure it's nice and clean, and I can keep an eye out if there's any oil that starts to reappear. But at this stage, I think it's going to be pretty good. Now, I just do want to make a bit of a disclaimer in this video about the actual EATON travel motors here. If you look at a close-up of the plaque that's on the back of the motor there, you'll notice that it does say that it's made in China, and it's got the model number there of this particular travel motor. And I have tried to Google that sequence of numbers, and I really can't get any information on it at all. But what I wanted to point out that is, if you're, for example, in the US and you have a regular supply store that can give you EATON genuine parts, I'm not really 100% sure that the EATON parts made in the US are going to fit in this Chinese-made EATON motor. You would think that they would. You would think that if you buy a part that the machining and the process that they use are exactly the same, but I'm just not too sure. So just I thought I'd point that out just in case you are looking for parts for these particular motors. Okay, I'm just putting a little bit of degreaser on the tracks where the oil had been sitting. I'm just going to make sure that's nice and clean, and for when I put it back on the machine. The tracks themselves are in pretty good condition. So these tracks have, as I said, are 2 years old. They've done about 100 hours, and they're still really good. There's no rips or tears in the tracks. They're all pretty good. The centre guides under here, well, the rubber does get chewed out of that a bit. If your tracks actually come off, you can see on the outside there, it's pulled the rubber off a bit, but it doesn't last very long on the inside because it's got to go around the metallic idle wheel at the front and the drive sprocket, so it tends to pull the rubber off the inside of those guides a little bit, but they still work fine. There's no trouble at all. And if you ever do need to replace them, then just look for those numbers there that are on the tracks, and you can just order those online and get them pretty easy. Now, before I put the tracks back on, I'm just going to have a quick look at this idler wheel here just to make sure that this is still okay, and I can move it and there's no grinding sound. So just want to actually have a look to see if there's any grease points further down in there in case it needs a grease. And also the rollers underneath here, I just want to have a quick look at those and make sure that they're okay. I've never taken them out, so I don't actually know if they have just like a sealed bearing or an open bearing or any grease points on them, so I'm going to have a look at those as well. Well, I was going to take the front idle wheel out, but it's actually going to hit the front of my stand here. I've got jacking the unit up, so I can't actually slide this out. I just wanted to show you the sort of the insides of this where the tension spring is as such, but I guess it's pretty self-explanatory what it does. That adjustment bolt just pushes out against that spring and then puts the tension on this wheel. Now I had a look at this wheel. I just wanted to see whether it actually had any grease points or anything on it. I mean, it spins nicely. I mean, there's no play or anything in it. It must have a sealed bearing down in here, I think, but there certainly is no grease points or grease fittings to put any grease in here at all. I'm just looking at the rollers here now, and you can see in the middle there that it's actually got a sealed bearing in there, and these are still spinning okay. There's no movement in there. But again, there's no grease fittings or anything here to lubricate those, so I guess you just run it until that bearing eventually fails, and then you just press out that bearing and then put some new bearings in there. It must be a bit of a carryover from the old Rhinoceros days, because these diggers are originally a Rhinoceros brand, and I was just looking on the back here and I can see some numbers here that says XN08L04. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could actually buy these parts from, you know, a Rhinoceros dealer, or even online from Alibaba, somewhere like that. Okay, it's time to put the tracks back on, and I'm just going to use the method that I've shown before in some of my videos. And the important thing is direction of the tracks first. To make sure you've got this V, if you like, pointing forward. You can also just check on the other side to make sure they're both going in the same direction. And what I'm going to do is just lift the front here and put it over the idle wheel here and make sure I get that centered on the guide. So that's the first thing to do. Okay, we'll lift the track over the top here and just make sure that it's actually in the center of these guides here for a start. That's the first thing to do. Okay, step number 2 is to make sure that you get the center of the tracks over this guide here that's at the top of the housing here. Now see on the bottom here that there's a lot of slack on the bottom. What you can do is put some timber or something under there just to lift that track up a bit, because what you'll find is that you're a bit tight on the end here, but we'll see how we go. Now what I tend to do, and I've done in the past, it seems to work, is I'm going to start the motor up and then run this track motor in reverse direction. And while it's running in reverse, I'm going to push my hand in here, pushing the track in that way. And what it tends to do is the sprocket teeth will grab on the rubber and then pull the track on, and hopefully it will center itself up. So we'll see if that works. So as you saw there, I didn't have to go back very far, and it seems to just pull itself on and then center itself on the center part of the track there. So you just push against the track. So while it's going in reverse, you just have your hand flat, so you don't want to get your fingers caught anywhere. And you know, if you have concerns about doing this, then try another way, but this is what I do. Just have your hand pressing against there sideways, pushing force there as you run it in reverse, and it'll pull itself back on the sprocket. Okay, the machine's back on the ground and level now, so I'm just now going to check my hydraulic fluid here, and I can see that it's dropped down a little bit. I probably did lose a little bit when I replaced the seal, but not as much as I thought I would, and I'm just going to top this up. Now on my model of this UME 12, what I really dislike about this is it doesn't actually have a nice cap somewhere that you can put hydraulic oil into. It seems when I've topped it up before that I top it up through here, which is really just a breather tube. The top comes off it, and you can fill it up in there. And I've tried it in the past, and it does take a while to do it, because you can't fit a lot of oil in there, otherwise it comes back and overflows over the top. But anyway, I'll do that today. I'll just put a little funnel in there and pour very slowly some hydraulic oil in there. I would really hate to have to do the 2,000 hour hydraulic oil change on this machine if that's the only way you can fill it up. I think one of the subscribers did tell me at some stage that you can actually take this out here, and the actual filter, if you replace the hydraulic filter, is actually in there. You can take that out as well. But yeah, I don't know, maybe there is another mystery filling point for the hydraulic tank on this. I certainly haven't found it yet, so I'm just going to use this. So when you're putting oil in and it's very slow to go in, you can use this technique, which is you put oil down in this funnel and just let it sit there, and then with the arm extended like it is now, you bring back the control and bring that arm in, and that'll actually suck oil down into here. I'll see if I can show it to you. So that went in okay, just depends where the airlock is. And then I'll go back on the stick and it sucks the oil down. Yep, that's pretty good. That's about halfway up the sight glass there, and I just put in some of this Gulf Western oil that I had, this hydraulic ISO 46. Well, there you go, job's done, and I think I've fixed the leak in my travel motor. Now, if you have a similar Chinese-made mini excavator, you probably will have the same type of travel motor that I do. And as you've seen, they're easy to work on. So if you do have a leak in your travel motor on your mini excavator, then the parts are easily available and they're easy to work on. So I'd suggest everybody to get out and give it a go and fix it for yourself. Righto, the sun's come back out again, the rain stopped, and it's time to go and dig something. Righto, let's get to it. Oh, that'll work.